Because you love me, baby.
Of course, I have all ideas, they probably. I didn't know this. Closed session, because but we still, John and Whitney and I met with the law firm about the opioid. We just finished meeting with them, and we really feel like we need to go ahead and just pull y'all up and stuff. What we learned this afternoon.
We should be able to quit the claim deed back to the
You're
file.
kidding.
The federal judge that initially will hear it is in Ohio. It's a federal judge, the opioid.
We don't know.
Interesting information, and I just feel like I need to go ahead and share that with y'all to get some direction. Okay? All right?
I gotta tell my sister about that.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to welcome everybody here. I think everybody's probably at the grocery store making plans. Welcome to the regular board meeting of the Lee County Board of Commissioners. And at this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Sloan for the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be together as a Board of Commissioners, as in citizens and employees of Lee County. We pray that the business that is at hand tonight will be pleasing in your sight. We pray that the decisions that we make will benefit each and every one. Please grant us wisdom in making those decisions. Protect us, guide us, be with us through the next few days with the rough weather. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Any additional agenda items?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I'd like to add to the agenda, extending the deer hunting gun season in Lee County for discussion.
Okay, so we can put that as C under new business, if that's okay? Commissioner Rowe? Okay,
C
under new business? All right. Okay, anything else?
Madam Chair, we need to go into closed session to discuss a matter with the county attorney.
Okay. All right, any other additional items to the agenda? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. And the approval of consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Public comments? Okay, no public comments. Okay, old business, just rolling right along here. Page 15 through 17, you'll see a draft of our board retreat, which is, seems like we just started planning it, and already it's right around the corner. So as I talked with the manager and the clerk, you know, I wanted everybody to have a chance while we were all together to look over it. And if you had any comments, if you'd like to add something, delete something, do something in a different way, suggestions, you know, we're kind of getting to the time where we need to make those changes if we're going to make any. Does anybody have anything to weigh in on with the board retreat? And that will be at the Nature Center both days. Start at 5:30 on Thursday the 25th. And should probably wrap up, I would say, about 8 that evening, and then begin again at 9. Okay? Anything? Okay, looks like Jennifer and
Michael?
Michael, y'all just done an excellent job. No problems whatsoever. Okay, so look forward to that. Maybe there won't be any snow forecast that day. All right, moving on into the new business. Consideration of an upgrade to the Kronos system. Lisa? Good evening.
Good evening. You have before you a proposal from Kronos for an upgrade of our timekeeping system. We originally installed this system back in fiscal year 2007-2008. We last upgraded in 2012-2013. We are asking to upgrade the system again to make sure that we stay in compliance with FLSA rules and to hopefully make the system more effective. One of the big changes in this upgrade is there's a program that's called Java, and right now we are still Java dependent, but Java is a very sensitive program and causes quite a few issues. So this will take us away from being dependent on Java, which is a good thing. Edwards will confirm that with you. Also, part of this cost in this upgrade is we also have our timekeeping system where people can call in to clock in and out for certain positions. We need to upgrade that piece of our system to a voice over IP type system, which has not been done in the past.
Okay.
Okay. So our total cost will not exceed $30,375 to Cronus.
Okay. Any questions?
Was that in the budget originally?
Yes, sir.
Thought so.
Move to approve.
I had a couple of questions, Lisa. I know when I was looking over the information, it said the project duration is expected to be about 8 weeks. I mean, are you comfortable with that? I know it said, however.
Yeah. We have not sat down with them to set a master time frame yet. In the past, as long as we don't hold them up from anything, they usually work with us if we need to stretch the schedule a little bit. We will
Okay.
also be using Rick Harnsberger that we've used in the past as a consultant. Y'all may, those of you who've been around may remember Rick. We will also be using him, so he'll be able to help us manage through this too.
Okay.
And his costs will be less than the $20,000 that has to come back before you. So, but he will be involved in this project also.
Okay, and just so I can understand it, because this isn't my wheelhouse. But, reading how it will be implemented, since it's software and all, it says that we'll have a core team that will do the training. Is that IT core team? That's you?
It'll be
Okay.
my staff and I, or
Okay.
Rick, or Mr. Harnsberger.
Okay, that's what I was just clarifying. Is it going to be finance or IT?
Right.
And
It'll-
just doing it a department at a time, sort of? Is that the way we'll do it?
Once we can get in and really see the magnitude of the changes,
Mm-hmm.
we will determine whether or not we need to go down to the employee level. Usually it doesn't end up being very involved at the employee level,
Oh,
so
okay.
we will bring in, usually it's supervisors and managers that end up having to be trained.
Okay.
The main
Right.
thing the employees do is to clock in and out and then enter their vacation request.
Okay. I was just personally curious, since it had the.
One of our goals this time is we have not done a real overhaul of our manual since we originally went live in 2007, 2008. So that is one of my goals, if I can stretch the finances enough to have Mr. Harnsberger do us a new manual. So, because the screenshots have changed quite a bit, and this is going to be a little bit of a big change going away from being Java dependent. So we are hoping to have a new manual, because we have had a lot of turnover in supervisors and department heads over the last few years.
Right.
So that is one of my goals, is to have a new manual so that we can, as people come in and out,
Good.
hand them that to help them through it.
Okay, good, thank you. Okay, so motion to approve. Any more questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thanks,
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Hope it goes well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, discussion of property tax interest and inclement weather. Mr. Crumpton?
Yes, ma'am. I put at your place and per the board's request from our meeting last week, a resolution seeking assistance from the North Carolina General Assembly in addressing the delinquency date for the payment of property taxes when inclement weather closes county offices. I'm going to skip all the whereases and read what the county commissioners are resolving, which is the Lee County Board of Commissioners asked the North Carolina General Assembly to consider allowing local governments in North Carolina the option to extend the tax delinquency date for property taxes by the same number of days that the local tax office is closed for any natural disaster or occurrence. That a copy of this resolution be delivered to Senator Ron Rabin, Representative John Sauls, and Representative Robert Reeves by the clerk of the board, and that a copy be sent to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners seeking their support to change in the Machinery Act to give boards of county commissioners the flexibility to deal with these issues that impact the citizens of North Carolina. So I think that was what we were instructed to do last week, and so it's there for y'all to consider.
Discussion?
I want to ask council, did you have, or have you had any communication with the association?
Not about, No, sir.
To see how many others, have you?
I have. Just along those lines, Friday, this past Friday, I was in Raleigh with the association, helping them with the new chairs class. And I had one thing I was gonna present, but I cast that aside, and this was what I presented instead, as far as a challenging issue for board chairs. And I will say that I got accused by the association staff at the end for stirring the pot, because we had a lot of new chairs that were there, and it was interesting how the counties that were there for that meeting all handled it differently. The ones that extended it.
Right.
And then when after we finished with that meeting, several of the staff members, including the executive director, Kevin Leonard, stayed around, and we talked about this. And I gave him all the information that we had from Chris McLaughlin, is that right? And went over how our discussion went in our special meeting last Tuesday. And this was kind of something that caught them blindsided, just like us. And then what was a real concern was just in our meeting Friday, how many different ways it was handled. So obviously the association feels like it's something that they need to address. And we have a new person that has just recently been hired by the association, David, is it Parker? Baker. Thank you, Nancy. I mean, Mary knows him because he has a lot of experience. And I have yet to meet him, but they were going to work on that with him this week and get back to us as far as moving forward. But they were certainly in support, and we've got a state board meeting in a couple of weeks. So I've got that on the agenda for us to talk about then.
Well, this would only enhance initiating the discussion,
Mhm.
so.
Well, and that's I told them it was going to be on our agenda for tonight, so they I said, you know, we would share this resolution with them and they could look over it. But there was some real concern about that blog post that we got from the Institute of Government, and from there really was. I mean, and I had a copy of that to give to the council from the association. Was that, you know, you have to follow the law, and this is the law, but, you know, they did not like the but. You know, we feel fairly safe in you extending it. You know, that would not have been their advice. So that, you know, so at the pleasure of the board, you know, if we adopt this tonight, then I will make sure that, you know, they get a copy of it, and we'll certainly take it up at the state board meeting in a few days.
I would ask the board to look at number 2.
Okay.
That a copy of this resolution be delivered. I feel more comfortable if we stated that we are asking our delegation to support this resolution,
Okay.
or that we have already done that,
Mhm.
and ask for their support.
Okay.
You can make that change if the motion just includes that.
Mhm.
I move that we accept the resolution with stated changes pertaining to the representatives asking for their support.
I'm just, I don't know if it matters, but I was just thinking, you know, you gave a few reasons. I think a main reason that I would like is gives the county manager more leeway than calling all his people in here and giving them undue risk, having to try and open up, which they did, which maybe it would have been, well, if it wasn't tax day, I probably would have been like, hey, if you can, you can't, you can't, you can't.
Mhm.
But this was kind of, got everybody out and trying, which may put people in harm's way. I don't know if that strengthens this overall resolution or not. I mean, that's my biggest concern.
But,
Didn't you tell me if you open one branch, you gotta open everybody?
I
Like, you
open one building, I open
You open
everything.
them all,
Yes, sir.
mhm.
which,
'Cause it's hard to tell people I'm just opening up this building and not the others. and
understood.
People start showing up.
So I don't know if you wanna put that as a whereas verbiage wise, but
I can put that in the 1, 2, 3, fourth whereas, where we open for 5 hours, you know, and had some wording in there that the reason we opened for that 5 hours was to, you know, try to give taxpayers the opportunity to pay, but if this would have been in place, we would have closed for the day.
right, and that's a great point, is, you know, I feel like, you know, we need to maybe reword it where, you know, extremely hazardous conditions, or something to that effect.
Okay.
Because I mean, I just know what our road looked like on Friday, you know, and what a lot of other, you know, the teenagers that I have in my house, you know, and the Snapchats and the Instagrams and stuff, and they were sharing pictures of the neighborhoods all their friends lived in, and I mean, there were folks that couldn't get out till Sunday, you know, I mean,
Let me ask
seriously.
a question, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Would weather be the only condition that we might have to close down the tax office, not make it available to people with taxpaying time? Would weather be the only reason couldn't we have something else to happen that might ask us to,
well, I think, I don't know if that last statement, just if we're closed, that we can extend, does it refer to?
You know, I put natural disaster, you know, I could add inclement weather, or, you know, similar occurrence, you know.
how about a bad fire, you know?
Mhm.
I just assumed if you were closed, that just kind of
How
encompassed
about
it
a
all.
malfunction of equipment?
Well, I know, you know, in Miss Yao and I have had some long discussions on this. You know, there have been fires in the building before, you know, but business went on. I mean, you know, we don't. I think it needs to be at the discretion of the manager and the board, that it's extreme situations. And one of the things, and I know thanks to her advice, and in talking to the association staff, is whatever they do in Raleigh, if they do anything, it only needs to be based on the county's inability to have the office open. It doesn't need to have any kind of for cause for the citizens. It needs to be very tight, and just solely if we can't have the office open for some extreme situation.
Well, I think he's got it covered in
Right.
paragraph 1, where he says closed for any natural disaster or occurrence. So I think that should cover everything.
And I'm sure they'll beat it around and change it up.
Sure, but I mean, that's, but again, after talking with Ms. Yao and then with the council here and at the state level, it needs to be really, really tight. So that we're not, you know, we don't get into more gray area. It just needs to be, if the office is closed, then the extension equals the amount of days the office is closed.
Well, I think the most important thing for me is to link it to the county having the control and the
Right.
discretion.
Right. Right.
That's what I want to
Right.
focus on.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And not get into any one or two departments, because I think I heard the governor announce this afternoon that only those departments that were
Essential.
essential should show up
Mhm.
in this weather. And that's the kind of discretion that we need to have. I listen to the manager, and I'm not opposed to what he does, but the question then becomes, do you need everybody to come in just because you open one building?
Right.
So that's something that we need to focus on.
Right.
That's how our verbiage is at work too, is all essential employees.
Yeah.
Everybody else stay at home.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we got any buttons that send out an alert, you cover them good. I don't wanna be in Hawaii.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, my God.
Oh my gosh. I think our EMS team could, based on the drills we have and the notebook we have to follow, I think our EMS folks, Shane Seagroves and his team need to go out there and tell them how to, you know, cover things, because that was unreal that they didn't have a false alarm.
Well, they said they had one in
Message.
Japan this afternoon.
Sir?
They said they had another one in Japan this afternoon.
Yeah, I heard that too.
So.
Okay. We can digress, but, okay, so we've had one, request for number 2 under the therefore, items.
And then we're gonna change the wording to add extremely hazardous conditions
Right.
somewhere in the fourth whereas.
Right. Okay,
And
anything
then,
else?
and then for the, so, whereas to keep the county employees, right, you can put that in there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay,
Everybody's okay with that?
okay. Is there a motion?
So we approve.
Okay.
I thought,
With the amendments.
I thought
Tim had already approved it with
Right,
the
right,
changes.
right. Anything else? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. All right. We all know a lot more about the Machinery Act now than we did last week at this time. Okay, and item C, Commissioner Odom, deer season extension.
Yes, ma'am. I've been contacted several times by several people about getting the gun deer hunting season in Lee County extended to match those in our surrounding counties. And I'd like to see this board discuss that and maybe get a resolution to our elected officials, our legislators, to help us get this changed. Right now, Lee County is in the central district, and the gun season goes from November 1 to January 1. And Eastern District, which joins us, it goes from October 17th to January 1. So I'd like to see ours start on October 17th and go to January 1.
reason of the difference?
I don't know why it would be. We got plenty of deer and fire ants in Lee County.
Yeah, but it may be based on,
We got plenty of deer and fire ants in Lee County.
Well, I thought I heard that.
Yeah.
And what, when does it change, when does it start in Hornet? October
October.
it's usually 4.
October 17th.
17th.
17th, I'm
Usually
sorry.
a month difference.
Right,
There's a month difference in the gun season.
right.
But the Wildlife Commission may have it may be set that way based off of the, harvest numbers each year and also on the population of the county and the
Well,
deer population. So
They sent a letter. We tried this back, what?
20.
We've tried it twice
Two
since I've been here.
Two-
The last
2000
letter we got.
2009, I think.
Yeah.
is
Oh, we
when
can
tried
request
it
it.
then, and then
12 or
maybe
13.
12 or 13, yeah. Because I've heard both.
I think
I
the
don't
city's
remember.
doing the same thing because they contacted the clerk and asked for our resolutions.
Right.
What's the reason that we were turned down the other times?
my recollection is that.
I know why. I think we got turned down, but I won't discuss it.
Well, it said because of the timing.
Mhm.
It had gone past the period.
Time to change it.
Yes, they had already set the scale, the schedule
Because you
already.
would have to get all this together to put in your manuals, your regulations, and all that kind of.
I don't think it has
But
a
we're
thing
not
to do
in-
with the deer population at all. I really don't. I'd rather see hunters get them and see them laying beside the road on the shoulder.
There's
And-
more
and, you
and
know,
more of 'em.
I don't know why someone who lives in Sanford can't hunt on October the 17th if somebody down
I
below
mean,
Broadway
that
can.
doesn't change, you know, I mean, if they have a longer deer season, they can still change the number of tags. So they can always control population through tagging, you know, do you know what I mean? So if we're getting too many, they can just lower the number of tags, and you can still have a longer time to hunt, so.
I've already heard that's gonna be changed anyway.
They're gonna change anyway, so I don't see the issue of letting them have a longer.
Let me tell you what I heard a deer hunter say the other
Yeah.
day. These guys deer hunt, I heard one of them say, in fact, he had a video he showed me. He was in his stand. It looked like a 6-pointer, beautiful deer. I just kept thinking, I'm gonna see him shoot him. But no, he said, no, we're gonna let that one grow out and get bigger. Well, that same deer, I think, is one that eat up all my okra out of my garden.
Could very well be.
It's not personal.
No, I think, to your point, you know, in talking,
I thought it was.
knowing a lot of, as Commissioner Sloan knows, knowing a lot of deer hunters,
It just gives them more time
having
to
some,
hunt, but they can
well,
regulate how many they're allowed to anyway, so they can
well,
always
but
control.
having some more time to hunt, you know, from them personally is when you just have that November 1st to January 1st, you got to think about when that time is. That's Thanksgiving,
Holidays.
Christmas, where there's a lot of times that they need to spend with their family, and you know, not everybody in their family hunts. So you know, being able to hunt in October, you know, it's only a couple more weeks. But when you're looking at just a few weekends, because most of them work, you know, and they can't hunt after dusk, you know,
You know why they wanted to extend it from October instead of extend it in January? Because if you extend it in January, you're gonna impede on the squirrel and rabbit season. Had anyone thought about that?
No,
No, I didn't.
And that was one of the hunters explained that to me. I said, well,
but that makes sense. Yeah, I you know, that's the conversations I've had, Andre, was, you know, that just, it would be nice, you know, to be able to hunt in Lee County those couple of extra weeks, because they don't have that much time, you know, and then you've got the holidays involved. It's just, you know.
It's the road over by Bradley Road that Mark Thomas is farming, but it's Harnett County. It's just one road back. But it's over into Harnett County.
Watson Lake Road?
No. Anyway, my point is, I used to hunt over there on
Oh,
Mark
right,
Thomas's farm,
right,
which is
right.
Harnett County.
right,
But I could take a couple of steps over
and you'd be in Lee County,
and I
yeah.
was in Lee County. So I just really don't see the difference.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea too.
I was thinking too, Commissioner Dodson, you might be able to sell a few more shells.
Okay, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Okay, well, I mean, is there a motion?
Yeah, let's get the people that bring Dr. Lowe the okra.
Hold on a minute now. How about some grapes to go with it, eat the grapes too?
And some grapes.
Yeah, I got a motion. I'd like to see us do a
Resolution.
resolution done and get it to our legislators to see if they can get us some help on this.
Okay, all right, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I have one comment along those lines. Let's have, or ask the manager, get in touch with the Wildlife Commission and find out when the schedule is for all the changes before we notify the legislators, so we'll be in
That's true.
step.
Have a cover letter to go with it or something to,
We'll be in step.
right, there you go.
I think one of the legislators mentioned, Commissioner, that they thought they could get in the spring session if we got it doomed. I don't know how that would tie into what you were saying, but.
What I'm saying is that Wildlife Commission is separate,
Yeah.
and they run their own operation, and if we find out what their
Yeah.
scheduling is, we can let the legislature know.
We don't need this discussion here during the meeting, but after the meeting, I'd like some advice on how to take care of coyotes.
I got the answer to that, I'll give you that one.
Well, no, I understand that, but, they are,
Oh, there's people out there that like to go hunting.
they're,
Used to see one of the guys.
Dangerous.
He looked like he been eating dog food and this is fat.
yeah, okay. All right, managers report?
Yes, ma'am. I just sent out a memo that I've received from Planning and Zoning concerning a rezoning that's going to occur in the town of Broadway. We're the adjoining property owner to this rezoning, and this is to rezone the Memorial Pavilion Park so that they can put the bathrooms in. So I just wanted to make sure that the board knew that I was going to send just a letter of support.
Okay.
But we think that's a good idea, so they can put their bathrooms and do their project out there. Unless anybody doesn't think that's good. My report will be short. The Colon Road Water project is out to bid. We should get the bids on January 24th. We expect the commissioners to award the contract at the February 5th meeting and anticipate completion by April 15th. Courthouse renovations, we've set our meeting with Mosley Architect for the kickoff meeting, which is the Monday, the 29th. We've invited all the key stakeholders at the courthouse to come, and we'll see how that one goes when we get started. The master planning for our parks has started. When I get some more information, I will let you know where we are. And then, Jennifer, did we set the meeting date for the interlocal meeting? The 30th. So we do have a date for the joint interlocal committee meeting with the city and the town.
Let me ask you about that.
Yes, sir.
I saw two meeting places. Which one are we gonna use?
Buggy Factory.
Buggy Factory.
And we are hosting. So that means the chair gets to set the agenda.
Yeah, and I do have a couple more things for you.
So, you see the meeting schedule in February. Typically, when the NACO meeting conflicts with a board meeting, we normally cancel that meeting. So in March, you only have one meeting, which is March 19th, unless there's a big uproar and you all want to meet twice for some reason. But just wanted to bring that to your attention in March. That is my report, Madam Chair.
And we do have, I know, our communications director let me know, we do have an appointment with Senator Burr's office scheduled
Yes.
and waiting to hear
From the others.
from the others. If you have any issues that you want us to discuss while we're up there, if you'll let us know. She asked me about that, and my response was, let's see what happens between now and Friday, and then we'll kind of go from there, with everything going on in Washington. And we can certainly add to the list as we go along, but, I
Do you have a
know,
list already?
you know, the PIL funds, mental health. I'm trying to remember my list. I've got several lists running around in my head.
Well, I'd just like to see the list.
Okay, sure.
Once you pull it together.
And I know, I got an email, the NACO staff has developed their talking points list of issues too. I don't know, all of you should have gotten an email on that, but just in case, I'll make sure it gets forwarded to you. And the opioid crisis was one, that was in there.
And the impact on the historic tax credits that the
Yes.
new tax law
Yes,
had,
yes.
since that has been brought up as an issue locally.
And I also, thank you, the area farmers also have some concerns about some of the, or one of the items in there as well. So, okay, but again, that'll be first week in March, so we've got a little bit of time. So if, you know, if you're watching the news, reading, whatever, and a federal issue, you know, gets your attention, you know, shoot me an email or text, or let the manager or the clerk know, and, you know, we'll get to work on that, so we're ready to go when we meet with our congressional delegation.
And I do have one other thing that I need to ask the board to, do I need a vote?
No, you just need to inform them.
Okay. We are going to hold the public hearing on the borrowing for the Wicker School on February 5th. So at our next meeting,
Okay.
and the finance officer just reminded me about that. So that was something that was decided Friday with our bond counsel and
Okay.
financial advisors.
And there's gonna be a public hearing
Yes, sir.
for information purposes and find out if there's any.
Well, we will advertise a maximum borrowing amount and what that borrowing will be for and how we will do the borrowing, and then people can comment on borrowing the money.
And
That's
that's one of our topics for the retreat.
That's on February the 5th.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess it's the pleasure of the board. It's about 22 till 7. Do we go into closed session, or do you have enough commissioner comments to get to 7 o'clock? What's your,
Or we go home. Yeah, I'll go into closed session.
Yes.
I can skip my comments. to go to
Okay.
closed session.
all right, so at that time,
Good.
Commissioner Odom, yes, sir.
Madam Chair, we need to go under, per North Carolina statute 143-318-11, A3, need to go into session to consult with our attorney.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Okay, we're in closed session.
It was She Road. You know, She Road.
She wrote, yes.
And then just like those
I
things
know.
over as bad as-
Yeah. Give me, don't leave before I, yeah. Did you hear from your mom?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm good.
all right. Okay. Sorry for our delay. Sometimes closed session goes a little bit longer than we anticipated. Like to welcome at this time, Mr. Bob Joyce, to start our conversation, and then we'll go into the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the board. We're here tonight to talk about the spec building that has been proposed for Central Carolina Enterprise Park. Let me start out by saying we have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is we're out of buildings. The good news is we have a building that we believe today has gone under offer. It does take another building off our list. The Redmond building down on Harvey Falk Road, we think will, if it did not go under contract today, it should be in the next day or two.
Great.
Which leaves us with just a couple of buildings, the old Lee Bildermark buildings on Main Street in Jonesboro, just past Cigar Supply. Those two buildings, one 30,000 feet, one 20,000 feet. And then the former White and Roberts building, some people know it as the Phoenix Grill building or the API building behind Tryon. That building's 143,000 feet, but neither of those buildings have tall ceilings, under 20 feet, both buildings. So buildings that we have had and been showing, this End Up Furniture on Harvey Falk Road, 350,000 feet, has been leased for 3 years to Cody. The Balloons Inc. building, 100,000 square foot building with 26-foot ceilings, a modern building built in 2005, which has brought us a lot of prospects, has been taken off the market. The owners have changed around their process and refinanced their building. So that building has been taken off the market. The building we call the Cat Logistics building, which is on the corner of Deeperville Road and Elwin McCann Drive, has been long-term leased to EPI, plastics recycler. Bobby Sorrell's warehouse on Mount Pisgah Church Road, Cargo Control has taken and will vacate their space on Fields Drive and move out there, which leaves a small building on Fields Drive, but also low ceilings and an older building with small bays. So I say all that to say that we have no buildings. So in the past 2 years, 2016 and 17, we have been fortunate enough to have been able to respond to 70 project requests for information because we've had buildings available. We would now have to send in a no response on any request for information that asks about a building. We just are out of buildings. 39 of those 70 requests were for buildings in the 100,000 square foot range, which is the size of the building that we are proposing to build. So just in the same way that real estate agents want listings and car dealers want new cars on their lots, this spec building would give us a showroom model to attract buyers. Having the right product available when the buyer wants it is the new normal for economic development. And we are seeing, as with all of business now, this speed to market is very, very important to business. So when they make a decision to come to a community, having that building to move into right away and get their product to market is key. We think that the proposed building provides the best balance of risk and reward. It's a great location, Lot 1 at Central Carolina Enterprise Park on the corner of Colin and Enterprise Park Drive. We think the building that's proposed is the appropriate size and configuration to attract the broadest number of clients. There is very little competition for this size building right now in the areas around us. There are just no available buildings anywhere. The Triad region, I think, probably has more buildings available, but in our area and over into Wake County, we just don't see these kinds of buildings available. And we think for that reason, this is a good time to build. I was at the EDPNC's regional meeting for economic developers, and when I announced that we were going to ask our local governments for approval to build a spec building, I was the envy of everybody in the room. I can tell you that economic developers covet spec buildings. It certainly draws a lot of traffic, and even Johnston County, which is experiencing tremendous growth now, has not built any spec buildings in quite a while. So. The target industry for our spec building will certainly be advanced manufacturing, precision manufacturing. But the proposed building will be built in a way that it will be suited to a wide variety of businesses, including wholesale trade if that were the need. The structure and the process essentially is a public-private partnership, which is something that I know this board's been very interested in. And the way this is structured, we think certainly limits the risk on the public side. CC Enterprise Park LLC, the landowner will put up the land and subordinate that to a construction loan. Samet Corporation, the builder, will obtain the construction loan and facilitate the construction. Kirk Bradley is here tonight as a managing member of CC Enterprise Park LLC, and Brian Hall with Samet Corporation, if you have any questions for them. We propose a 2-year lease with the city and the county, and an option for a 3rd year if the building remains unsold. The lease rate would be approximately $3.25 per square foot per year, which we believe is a very competitive lease rate. It certainly is competitive locally, and it would be substantially below rates in the Triangle for similar buildings. The process of going through this, I think you all have seen the memorandum of understanding, and that will be followed by a resolution, and then at some point after the building is near completion would be the actual lease itself. We think the benefit, aside from the economic development benefits, there certainly would be benefits to local government. The project would pay taxes on the building while it's being marketed. This would be a Class A building. Tilt-up concrete walls, as I think you've seen in the elevation and the schematics, which is certainly a Class A building in anyone's market, certainly ours, which would, and we believe we would have a considerable, because of our cost of land, a considerable pricing advantage to those projects in the Triangle. We believe it gives us certainly market visibility, and it would have the multiplier effect. The average project that would go in a building this size, the folks at the Economic Development Partnership say would be approximately 75 employees. If they were paid at the average wage here in Lee County of about $38,000, that would be almost a $2.9 million annual payroll. In economic development, we used to say that payroll dollars turn 7 times in the community. I think everybody recognizes that in today's electronic economy, dollars don't stay in your local economy that long, but there's differences of opinion among economists. I know that's shocking for you to hear, but economists do agree that 3 or 4 turns in a community before the money leaves. So that would be between an $8 and $9 million local spending effect for an average size user to go in this building. If the board has any questions, Madam Chair, I'd be glad to answer.
If I may, I'm sorry. I needed to issue this when the agenda went out this week, but since then we do have the exhibits, and they're in your additional reading materials. Just so you know, when we issued the agenda, I did not have the exhibits at that time. So.
And everybody, they're in your packet in front of you. Any questions for Mr. Joyce or Mr. Bradley or
cost of the
Mr. Hall?
I'm sorry, what is it? That is for building, the cost of
Cost
the
of the
building.
building. We estimate between $4 and $6 million, and I can talk a little bit more about why that in order to appeal to the widest number of prospects, we would not completely finish the building. There would be a portion of the building that would be left unfinished and then finished out in a custom way for the client for their specific needs. So the office portion would not be finished. Of course, not knowing the number of employees, you wouldn't know how many bathrooms to put in, those kinds of things, parking spaces. So it will be finished in a way that all those other things could be added. So depending on the client and what those finishes are, we could be in the $6 million range.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, at this time, I will open the public hearing for the lease of space for the spec building at CCEP. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of? Anyone wishing to speak against? Okay. I'll close the public hearing on the spec building at CCEP, and we appreciate the information and your time. And I think we have a scheduled vote on this for February the 5th. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. To allow public input from what they see and hear tonight. All right. Okay. So commissioner comments, since we did our closed session in between. Commissioner Dodson?
Just everybody be safe. There's plenty of good out here. This is fast and easy. And just go over the south road, stay home if you can.
Yeah, everybody be safe.
I'm gonna pass, Carolina's been playing 20 minutes.
Okay. My son's there, so I understand. Doc?
I don't have anybody.
Commissioner Reeves?
I just have, and I should have added it when we were talking about upcoming workshop. I'd like for us to consider looking at DSS and the health department both are certainly by law not required to send their applications through our county HR department. I request that the board consider asking them to do so because HR may catch something that the DSS board or the health board may not recognize.
Okay.
That would be beneficial to the county. And I understand it's not required, but I would certainly recommend that we start doing that.
All right. I'll talk to, I'll get the opportunity to talk with our DSS director. We're going to be attending a workshop Monday in Greensboro. So I'll talk to her about that. Okay. And I guess I just take a brief moment, and I'll make this quick, and I'm going to try not to be political. But in my sermon that I heard on Sunday, the pastor challenged us to not resolve, but to respond when we see injustice or things that we just think are wrong. And I think that this past week, there's been a lot of things that we've heard on all sides that are not right. And it would be nice if more of us could stand up and speak out in a civilized, respectful manner. And I would challenge everybody on this board to do so individually. I would certainly not ask this board to do so, but it is becoming more and more difficult for me to explain to my children and other young people the discourse that we're having in this country politically, and the words that are being used and the tone that is being set. For me as a parent, as an elected official, as a citizen of this country, I find unacceptable. I know people have personal opinions, and in private we may say things that we wouldn't say publicly, but the citizens of this country deserve leaders that conduct themselves in a mature, measured, reasonable, respectful manner. And I think it's up to all of us to demand that. It's not that difficult to do, all of us. You know, while we may have differences of opinion sometimes, we respect each other, and we don't use improper language, and we work things out in a mature way. And it would sure be nice to see that on other levels of government. So I have done what I promised the minister on Sunday I would do. I have not just resolved, I have responded. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.